Wase, karibu to Enduro Cycles. You know, for most of us, the bike is more than just a ride. It's how we get to work, how we save on fare, how we keep fit, and honestly, it's therapy too. But here's the challenge. How do you take care of your bike when you're earning between 20,000 Kenya shillings to 50,000 Kenya shillings? Especially if you've got a family depending on you. Today, let's talk about how to budget like a smart cyclist so your bike keeps moving without emptying your pocket. So step one, we shall look at rethinking the 50-30-20 rule. Most financial gurus say 50% should go to needs, 30% should go to wants, and 20% should go into savings. But as cyclists, we tweak that. Inside your savings, you must create a small pocket just for your bike. Because if the bike breaks down, your budget also breaks down. Suddenly, you are on boda bodas or matatus, spending more. So step two, we shall look at how do we set aside the bike fund by adding a 5 to 8%. We are going to tweak the 50-30-20 rule by adding a 5 to 8% rule. From whatever you earn, set aside 5 to 8% just for your bike. Let me show you how that looks like on the table that is currently being shown on the screen. So this is the cyclist's budget table. On column 1 is the monthly salary. On column 2 is the needs, which is 50%, wants, which are 30%, savings, which are 20%, and the bike maintenance, which is 5 to 8%. So we are going to look at the life of Boniface and look at how he grows financially from 20,000 Kenya shillings to 50,000 Kenya shillings. So with a monthly salary of 20,000 Kenya shillings, Boniface decides to take 50% of that 20,000 shillings and puts it in the column for needs. He takes 30% of that 20,000 Kenya shillings and puts it in the column for wants. And he sets aside 20% of the Kenya shillings 20,000 and puts it in the column for savings. And he sets aside 5 to 8% of the 20,000 and puts it on the column for bike maintenance. So his 20,000 salary will be distributed like this. 10,000 goes into needs, 6,000 goes into wants, 4,000 goes into savings, and 1,000 to 1,600 is set aside for bike maintenance. If he gets a salary review of 30,000 Kenya shillings, he still applies the same rule to create discipline and consistency. So 15,000 goes into needs, 9,000 goes into wants, 6,000 goes into savings, and 1,500 to 2,400 goes into bike maintenance. If he gets another salary increment of to Kenya shillings 40,000, 20,000 will go into his needs, 12,000 will go into wants, 8,000 will be set aside for savings, and 2,000 to 3,200 will be set aside for bike maintenance. If he grows again, let's say he has increased his sources of income and he earns 50,000 a month, 25,000 will be set aside for needs, and 15,000 will be set aside for wants, and 10,000 will be set aside for savings, and 2,500 to 4,000 will be set aside for bike maintenance. Mark you, this money that he compounds on the bike maintenance, it will be a very smart move for him to open a money market fund and put that money there so that it also grows under the rule of the compound interest. And after a year or two, depending on how much he earns, he might even be able to upgrade his bicycle. So step 3, we shall compare a single person versus somebody who is in a family. And we are not going to share a table for this, but it's just a statement that I'm going to make that you can think through. If you're single, you have more flexibility. Even 10% you can set aside and allow it to go into the bike and fitness lifestyle or into the bike fund. So on a 30,000 salary, there's about 3,000 you can set aside for your bike. That is if you're single. But if you've got a family, you need to tighten that a little bit. You need to stick to the 5 to 6% for the bike. For example, on 30,000 salary, That's about 1,500 to 1,800 that you will be required to set aside, which falls under the 5 to 6%. That is when you have a family. The rest, you'll have to prioritize food, rent, and school fees because stability comes first. So step 4, we are going to look at the secret hack, or what I call the micro saving. So here's my hack. Save a small amount daily. I know as a rule that we have as cyclists, sometimes we tend to overeat. So you can realize maybe in a day you spend 100 bob on lunch or maybe on breakfast. You can decide to set that aside and do 2 meals a day, 2 healthy meals a day. So that 100 shillings, if you set aside every day, at the end of the month, it will be 3,000 Kenya shillings. And that will sort out your service without any stress. The fifth and the final step is what I'd call the pro moves, which you call going beyond. So here you may need to learn basic repairs like adjusting brakes, cleaning your chain, and patching a lube. These are normally the small services that we go to consult fundis for. You may need to buy spares in bulk. Like when you find tubes are on offer, you buy them. When you find brake pads are on offer, you buy them. So applies to the lube because it will be cheaper in the long term. You can also join a cycling group, which I know most of us do, where you can share tools, you can share knowledge, and also share discounts. Like for instance, if there is an offer for a tire, you can decide to contribute money and you buy some tires. Whoever's tire wears out fast can be able to use that. But remember this, as I conclude, that health plus bike equals to less hospital bills plus no matatu fares. So in closing down, you have seen the formula that I've shared. No matter your salary, you can be able to budget for your bike because this two-wheeler is more than a transport. It's your health, your freedom, and your way to go beyond. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you've got a budget hack of your own, please comment down on the comment section and share with us so that we can learn from you. Remember, Enduro Cycles, going beyond. Have a good day.